how much time do we spend on social media platforms arguing with bots? And when I say bots, I mean people who appear to have real profiles, who comment like real human beings and argue with us, but they're not actually humans. They're just automated AI bots. You never really know for sure, do you? Because how do you know that it's a bot and not a human? Like sometimes I find myself arguing because I'm like defending myself, and because if you're a creator like me, you get a lot of pushback, and often you get attacked, and you sometimes feel the need to defend yourself, right? I try not to do it so much anymore, but sometimes you can't help it when somebody makes an allegation that is like so off, and you just want to stand up for yourself. But how many times have I done that? And I wonder, am I even arguing with a real human being? Because if not, it's so embarrassing, isn't it? It's like, like when you're out in public and somebody waves at you and you wave back, and then you realize they weren't waving at you, but they're waving at somebody else standing behind you, and you feel like such a gimp. Yeah, it's like it's that same sort of embarrassment when you're engaging with a bot and you look like such an idiot to other people who might know that it's a bot and it's not real. I don't know if other people are conscious of this, but I know that I've had compliments before where I've thanked people, and then afterwards I thought, oh my God, I don't even think this is a real profile, and that's really embarrassing. But yeah, the number of times when I've argued with somebody over some political matter and then thought to myself, am I even arguing with a human? But I forget, right? So I allow myself to do this. I'm really trying not to do it anymore unless I know that it's a human. But sometimes I forget because my guard isn't up. But yeah, how big a problem is this generally? Like, how widely are bots used across social media? Because this is something the platforms don't want to admit, right? Because it doesn't look good for them, right? If their platform is full of bots and people realize that they're not engaging with real humans when they're using these platforms, it'll make people not want to engage anymore, right? But we know that China uses them, right? They've got this notorious so-called 50 Cent army. These are people, often students or, like unemployed people who are paid 50 cents per post, and they're used to push government propaganda. And it's an army of young people mostly who just swamp the internet with comments to push certain narratives. And originally they were all humans, but I'm pretty sure now that they would be using mostly bots for this, because it's something that they've been able to, we have the technology now to automate this type of function, right? And I've certainly noticed that when I post a video about the motherland, I often get a load of comments from what appear to me to be 50 Cent Army bots, because they often post like really nationalistic comments that have nothing to do with the subject of what I was speaking. And you look at their profiles and they just don't seem like real people. It's hard to explain why. It's hard to put your finger on it, but they have a certain kind of look. They often post similar messages and you get like a whole load of them and they all say very similar thing, and often it's got no bearing with what you've said in your post. But as much as the social media platforms don't want to admit that they exist, we all know that, you know, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, he famously did a massive bot purge, purging all the bots from the platform. Twitter was riddled with bots, tons and tons of fake accounts, and it was a big problem for Twitter. And he supposedly got rid of them all, and it was a big job. And it's been said that the UK government has used bots. Apparently, I don't know if you've heard this too, during the so-called pandemic, if you were to question the official narrative or the jibby jabs, like I did, you get swamped with comments, very standard comments that were like, they were all parroting the same official lines, like a particular quote or statistic. And the way it worked was anybody who went against the official narrative, they would find themselves swamped and swamped with comments all of the same nature, all pushing the official line, so that it made it look like the weight of public opinion was all on that side against you, and you're the odd one out for not agreeing with it. Yeah, it's so sinister to think that they did this, but apparently they did. Did any of you out there come across this yourselves during that dark time? And more recently, I have reason to suspect our government is using bots again when it comes to the subject of free speech in the UK. Because I did a couple of posts on this on TikTok talking about the erosion of free speech in the UK, and I got totally inundated. On one of the posts I had over 600 comments, like at least 90% of them in favor of the government and maintaining that there is no issue with free speech here in the UK. And the thing that made me suspicious was that this was totally out of line with the type of response I normally get from my audience about everything else that I post, because most people who follow me are sort of more on the conservative side, or certainly they're critical thinkers, and a lot of them are suspicious of government and corporations and institutions. And so for them to, on this one issue, to almost in almost 100% of them side with the government, and all parroting virtually the same statement, I was like, these are bots. And I think it would kind of make sense for the government to be using bots on this issue, because it's a real sore spot for our current leadership, isn't it? Because the nation, the people are very much up in arms about this, but they want to give the impression that it's not an issue. And it's an embarrassment that it was highlighted by Trump's admin that free speech in the UK is under threat. What an embarrassment on the global stage, right? And so I think this has been the next biggest issue since the pandemic, for the government to enlist the help of an army of bots to sway the narrative and to try to give the impression that the British public is of a particular view when it's not. But back to my question, like, how prevalent are these bots across all the social media platforms in general? Does anyone know? And are there other subjects aside from the ones that I've already mentioned where the bots descend on you if you mention them? I would suspect that maybe climate change is one of those subjects. I don't know, like I don't really post about climate change because I don't dare, because I just know that there are things that you're not allowed to say without getting punished on these platforms. There's certain narratives I've learned the hard way through trial and error, through being shadow banned multiple times, and also having lost previous accounts, that there are certain things that you can't question. And I suspect climate science is one of those. If anyone out there has experience of this, let me know. But yeah, the mainstream media narrative in terms of bots is, yes, they exist, but they say that bots are used to push misinformation, and they often cite Russia, right? Like, how many times have you heard them accuse Russia of being responsible for this narrative or that narrative? I've even been called a Russian bot myself, which is so ridiculous. There have been videos I've posted where I've had comments underneath accusing me of being a Russian bot myself. Like, how can I be a bot? A human being? Like, do they think are they suggesting that I'm just a paid actor as opposed to like an actual bot? Or do they think I'm an AI? I mean, that's quite flattering, really, if they think that I'm so perfect that I must be computer generated. But yeah, it's so funny, actually. I've noticed often if you disagree with a leftist, they either call you a fascist or they call you a Russian bot. But aside from Russian bots, who else is employing bots out there? Like the examples that I've given where I suspect it's the government, who else would have the incentive? What would warrant the expenditure? Because obviously it will be quite a costly thing, right? I mean, there's got to be a financial incentive in there, right? So I think aside from upholding the government narrative, the official narrative, it would be the military and the medical industrial complex mainly that would be employing these bots. Certainly, there would be no financial incentive in questioning the jibby jab, right? You only stand to lose if you questioned it. But profits and power would be the biggest incentives to employ bots. So I think mainstream media is correct in their assertion that bots are used to push misinformation. Yeah, sponsored official misinformation from government and from corporations. But do the social media platforms themselves use bots? Because I've wondered this, like, does anyone out there know? Anyone who works for social, well, you're probably not allowed to say if you do, right? But anyone who knows, anyone who does, like, do the platforms themselves, like Instagram, TikTok, X, do they themselves employ bots? And like, the incentive for them would be to keep you on the platform, right? To keep you using the app, arguing with people, right? So if they, like, sometimes I've wondered when I'm engaging with my comments and trying to defend myself from attackers, is it the platform itself that's hiring bots, employing bots to attack me, to keep me active active on the platform. Like, would they do that? I don't know, but it makes me not want to engage anymore. Like, unless I know who the real people are, because you can tell. There's just that humanity in the way they speak to you, and you can, and if you look at their profile, you see that they often post stuff themselves, or they share a lot of stuff that is very like that a real person would share. And you get to know after a while as well your followers. Like, I know so many of my followers by name, and you guys, like my regular commenters, you're like my friends. I feel like I know you. And so yeah, there's a lot of people, you know that you're dealing with a human, and it's lovely to interact with them. But the ones that you're not so sure, and often it's your haters, I think I've got to really be firm and not engage with haters anymore. And I should just take the stance that they are all bots. Because even if they're not a bot by nature, like even if they are not an AI or a paid 50-cent army member, but they're actually a real thinking human, they may as well be a bot. You know, my haters who have this hive mind, they may as well be a bot. They may as well not be human. So I'm not going to engage with them anymore. I'm promising myself from now on, I must no longer fight back with people who are rude, because it's just a waste of your time, especially when you think that they may well be a bot. Or even if they're not rude, if they say stuff that is completely unrelated to what I was talking about. Because I've been guilty of correcting people and saying, that's not what I meant, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about this. But I should know that if they didn't even understand what I was talking about, it's probably because they didn't even read it, because they're a bot. So I shouldn't fall for that anymore. What do you think? Have you found yourself arguing with bots? Like, or, you know, engaged in an argument with someone and then realize afterwards, am I arguing with a bot? Is this person even human? Have you found evidence of bots? Do you know that they do exist for sure? And do you have examples of subjects where bots will automatically descend on you if you mention certain things? Let me have your comments. I really value all your feedback and your opinions and your stories, and so do keep them coming, even if you disagree with me. And please like this video, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. And if you enjoyed this video, do watch this one too. Thank you so much.